First off, let me apologise. This might not be the greatest thing for your wallet. But let's dive into my Winter 2024 wish list. Hi, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplanty Goodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. So yes, as I said, apologies in advance, because I know this gets a bit expensive for people when I show people my wish list and it then triggers people with their wish list and spending happens. I am not saying spend, it's a difficult time economically for a lot of people at the moment. I am just saying let's oogle some really cool plants. And, there is not a Philodendron or a Monstera in sight. And I know for some people that might be a good thing, for some people that might be a bad thing, but I couldn't find any to put into my wish list since the last time I did my wish list. Also, I think there might be a wish list playlist somewhere. I'll kind of put it at the top there. If not, I'll link up the most kind of recent video that I've done in terms of a wish list. But yes, without further ado, because we've got a lot to get through, there are some Anthuriums, there are some variegated plants. I am rekindling my love for some variegation at the moment. And you know me, some weird, kooky, non-usual house plants. And at the very end, I have got some Hoyas. I am also kind of really feeling the Hoya love at the moment. So yes, without further ado, because there's a lot to get through, let's dive into things. So as with most of these wish list videos, it's a wish list because I don't have this plant yet. So I will be adding pictures somewhere on the screen, probably somewhere here. And I will be linking all the credits for the images down below. Most of the images, I think barring one, is from actual sellers. So if you're interested, I'm not saying they might be the only ones out there, it's just the easiest way that I can get some good looking images of some of these plants. So yes, first plant I want to talk about is actually an Anthurium. Let's start with the Anthuriums and work down. So this is a plant that's been around. I need the iPad because I cannot remember and I need to look at the image to remind myself. So Anthurium King of Spades. So pretty. I mean, look at the veination on this plant. It is insane. And I know this is one that has potentially been around for a while, and I say this, been around for a while. I think it's been a particularly difficult plant to get a hold of. It's still not the easiest plant to get a hold of. If I'm not mistaken, this is a very specific hybrid. People have named it the King of Spades. I think it's the King of Spades. I don't think it's the Queen of Spades. I think it's the King of Spades. This plant that I'm showing you is something called the King of Spades. It's something spades. I'm pretty sure that's it. Sorry, rambling. But I have always liked the look of this plant. Before, it was nigh to impossible to find it, at least where I'm based, or even looking abroad to bring it in. They are coming back into the market a bit more these days. None of them are cheap. So this won't be happening anytime soon. However, for me, drool worthy. I know it kind of looks like a lot of like different Anthuriums, like potentially some of the crystallinums, all of these things, but I do like this one specifically. And the second one might not be a surprise to anybody because I had what I thought was an Anthurium Forgetii, but it was not an Anthurium Forgetii. The picture that I am showing you is an actual Anthurium Forgetii, at least it is based on the seller. The Anthurium Forgetii that I had got from, I don't think it was an online plant shop, I think it was an individual that was getting rid of some of their plants, so I kind of ended up with it. Probably was a hybrid like what everybody else is saying because the sinus wasn't quite what you should be seeing here on kind of more of a true Forgetii, but I do want to get a real Forgetii. And I blame, in the nicest possible way, every single one of you that told me that the Forgetii that I had is not a Forgetii and is a hybrid. So I'm just like, but I need a Forgetii. I've been growing a Forgetii for so long. I need an actual Forgetii now. So actual Forgetii is on the wish list. I mean that in the nicest possible way, by the way. I don't blame everybody. Thanks for letting me know. But yes, I do want the real thing now because I've enjoyed growing it. I know it's slow, and I know it's not going to be one of those things. In this space, though, slow is not bad. Oh, and the next one on the list, I have seen this around for a while, and let me see how. Anthurium decipiens? I'm hopefully adding the names through all of these, but I mean, can you see the kind of sinus and the kind of top lobes of this Anthurium? I do like these shapes of Anthuriums, basically. I'm kind of also looking down to kind of remind myself of what the picture looks like. It is very, very cool. And you know me, I don't do that great with like velvety Anthuriums. This isn't one. This is one that, at least on the look of things, this looks leathery, and I am here for that because it generally makes my life a lot easier. But this one might be getting purchased when it gets a bit warmer, because I think the image that I'm showing you here is from Equigenera's website. So yeah, this might happen. Where I'm gonna put it, I do not know. I need to be purchasing that house that I was mentioning on previous videos much sooner than expected. But oh, this is so pretty. And I mean, sorry, lost a bit for words. The shape, everything, and I think I've got the Anthurium sparthum or the Anthurium Aglaonema, I think. I'm probably butchering both of those names. They've got similar vibes with that sinus and those kind of high lobes, but yeah, this is nice, this is very nice. And that was it for Anthuriums. We are now moving into variegated plants. I don't think there's a variegated, oh no there is. Let's start with the variegated plants and you'll see what I mean. So first one, and this is interesting because it's on my wish list because I would like this plant. And by the way, I'll kind of put the name is, so Homalomena Rubescens variegated pink. So the caveat to myself here for this being in my wish list is, dum-dum, you ain't never had a Homalomena before. Why do you want to go for something this expensive and variegated on a plant that you have never grown that type of plant before? So I am aware that this dum-dum should probably not be getting these plants, especially the Homalomenas, until maybe I grow one or two of the green forms of a Homalomena and then see how I get on with it. And I know they can be quite similar to other aroids, but I know myself too well, and if I haven't grown it, things are going to go wrong, and that's a very expensive thing to go wrong. But look at it. I mean, and I don't see that much of the pinky variegation. I see more of a kind of creamy blush variegation, which I like. I actually wouldn't like this if this was very kind of like hot pink Barbie-esque variegation that you might get on a pink princess, although we are coming up to a hot pink Barbie-esque variegation in just a second. But I do like this. I've liked the look of Homalomenas, and especially the Rubescens, or the Rubescens, that is this one. I like that leaf shape, and the fact I never got it before because I'm just like, it looks like a mini kind of pastizanum-y kind of leaf, and I'm just like, I don't know if it can be bothered, but actually the variegation on this really makes me kind of like pay attention and go, ooh, I like this. Another Homalomena. So this is a Homalomena Pendula Aurea variegated. Oh. Look at it. Look at it. It is got that kind of variegation, that speckly kind of variegation that you might get a bit with, I'm thinking of the Philodendron Snowdrift, there's Philodendron manii. You have heard my thoughts on that one, I'm not going to harp on about it again. But it's giving that very, very, very variegated leaf with just some speckles of green. And the reason why I like plants like this, and I know they're not the easiest thing to grow, is because of that. I'm just like, how are you surviving with very little chlorophyll? Very little chlorophyll. But so pretty. So pretty. Again, you can see what I mean now about me having a word with myself about kind of going, don't buy Homalomenas, especially if you're going to be buying things like this, because you need to know what the heck you're doing before you get into something like this. But I like it. I like it. And the picture that I've got here that I'm seeing, the The kind of variegated section is more of a yellowy, not yellow, but kind of that creamy yellow color rather than lily white. And I generally tend to go more for lily whites, but I am coming around to this type of variegation. Ah, the next one's interesting because I've done well with my Aglaonema that I got, the one that's apple something, Apple Fantasy, possibly, I can't remember now. But this is an Aglaonema or donacarmen santi variegated. Oh, see. It's just the explosion of color for this plant for me, because you've got the red pinky kind of central vein, then you've got like a deep kind of green, and then you get lighter greens. It's giving very much, and I don't know whether or not it's going to come up on the screen here, that kind of ficus elastica, ruby or taniki or all these things. It's giving those kind of layers. Remember we talked about variegation layers on the leaf. This is really giving me that, and it is an Aglaonema. And I know I should probably crawl first before I run, because I've only ever, no, I'm keeping 2 Aglaonema happy at the moment. I forgot about my Pictum tricolor. So far, they're doing okay. But this, because I know with a lot of Aglaonema, you get something that looks like variegation, but I don't think is variegation. I think it's just leaf patterning. This, I think, is actual variegation. So I might be wrong about all of this. Correct me if you think I'm talking rubbish down below. But this is very cool. It's giving me less of that Aglaonema vibe and more, I don't know, no, it's still an Aglaonema. It's just a very interesting variegation because of the different hues of colours that you will get on the one plant. Very cool. And this has been on my wish list for next month for a while. And it will remain on my wish list until I can afford to buy it, or hopefully the prices come down because I'm not paying some of the prices that this is going for. Syngonium, Chiapense, variegated. There is a very, very specific place in my heart, like the Syngonium Chiapense has like grabbed my heart and just got, no, you will love me forever. And the variegation on this is lily white as well, which I really, really, really like. So, hopefully, at some point soon, this will come across my path and I will pick one up. I don't know if any, I think I've mentioned this one before, and I think 1 or 2 you may have the variegated form of this. If you do, and you're watching this, what's it like? Does it grow as consistently and as fast as the all green form? Is it a lot slower? Is it problematic? I don't know, because at the moment it's gone down in price. I think it was definitely in the triple digits before. I don't think it's dropped down to double digits just yet. I don't think. At least locally to me, like in the UK. But it's still a relatively expensive plant and a variegated plant for it to go sideways. And I know you can never guarantee with variegated plants, but I am asking for a guarantee. As in, like, I'm asking for, what was your experience has been with this? Sorry. Very roundabout way of me asking that, but yeah. One day, I will get this, one day. We talked about hot pink before, and the last, I think, of the Anthuriums. And I came across this on Instagram, and this is the one picture that I said is not from a seller because I cannot find anybody that's selling this at the moment. I might also be getting catfished by this picture. I've seen a few now to kind of think it might be true, and I'm assuming this is some form of variegated hybrid or variegated species, but it's a type of plant. Anyway, Anthurium Hot Barbie. Because I will say something right now and kind of keep me to this, because I might change my mind, but at the moment I am not seeing a lot of Anthuriums that I am liking the variegated look of them. Mainly because a lot of them look like they might have some disease. And it's a shame because there's some variegated Vitarifoliums that are hitting the market, and I'm just like, oh. There's that side of me that I'm just like, it's a Vitarifolium, I must have it, I must collect them all. But at the same time, I'm just like, I'm looking at it going, I don't know, I don't like it, I don't like it. This, however, I can get on board with. This I quite like. Again, because there's not that many pictures and because this might be AI generated, I don't think it is. I don't know. If you know that it is and it doesn't exist and I'm talking rubbish, please do let me know down below and I can take it off the wish list. But this looks cool. Whether or not the variegated hot pink Barbie element of this plant remains, and I would imagine if it is real, not that many people would have this. I don't know. I don't know whether or not it fades to a different shade of variegation that isn't pink, but if it stays that pink, oh, like, I never really quite got the Pink Princess hype with the pink thing. This, if it stays that pink, oh, I get it. I get it. 100% won't be able to afford this. Funny story, I went to my local garden centre the other day and they've got a rare and unusual section basically, and they had a variegated, the Anthurium that everybody, like the traditional Anthurium that you get in supermarkets kind of a thing. And it was variegated and I'm just like, oh, amazing, oh, it's going to be quite cheap. And it was quite a small little plant, it was only about this big. But I'm just like, I know it's going to be expensive, but like how expensive? And I looked it up and I'm just like, oh, you know what, if this is like 40, 50 quid, or 40, 50 pounds, Great British pounds, I might get this. I looked at it and it was like 450 and I'm just like, I'm gonna put that back really gently because I'm just like, no, no, I'm not doing that. I can't even remember the name now, but just my shock was just a bit like, oh, no, put it down. This is not for me. No, 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 not at this stage anyway. But yes, Anthurium Hot Barbie, oh, just worthy. When I saw this and I'm just like, this is going on the wish list, knowing full well I am never going to be able to afford that plant. But wow. Okay, moving on to some of the more different types of plants, not your usual Anthurium, Philodendron, Monstera, all of these things. Slightly kooky as well. So the first one, I have never grown this type of plant before, so this is and I'm hoping this is a different thing and it's not just a weird spelling of the thing that we all know. Syzygium or jiewhoei, I'll put the name, species Papua. I mean, it's giving that, oh, and I can remember is it Libicea? The one that looks like a turtle shell. It's giving that it might be related or possibly in that family. It probably isn't, but and the leaves, based on some of the other images that I saw, are very kind of turgid and kind of thick, very leathery, but it's giving that kind of neon-y, greeny vibes. It might just be the way that they've pictured it or they've taken the picture. Maybe there's a flash or something, I don't know. But I'm liking the color, the texture on this. It is ticking all of the boxes. I have never, if this is a Syzygium, I'm assuming it's a different type of plant and it's not the one that I'm thinking Syngonium, and maybe this was a misspelling, I think. I have never grown this type of plant before. I have never heard of this kind of type of plant before until I came across it on a seller's website and I'm just like, what is that? What is that? And how quickly can I get one? But yes, very, very, very cool plant. The next one is a piper, because you know I like my pipers. So we'll add a picture here. Oh, and this is a piper parmatum, species Borneo. The texture on those leaves, that slight silveriness, the fact that they can be quite dark leaves as well. Oh, so many things. And ironically enough, and again, I know this isn't for everybody because I know a lot of people struggle with pipers. I'm just generally fortunate that the conservatory is pretty much like a massive terrarium at this point. I get it. I get it. But because I can grow them in here, I'm just like, why the heck not? Why would I not? This, this, I would so happily get one and let it run crazy in this space and be as feral as all of my other plants. Oh, this is spectacular. And again, it's giving that turtleback vibes. And I do want to get a Libicea, I think it is, the turtleback type of thing. And I've seen it come across. It's not, ironically enough, it's not on the wish list because I think it's things come off my wish list when they become more likely to happen and it's just a case of I need to come across it because they don't come up as often, but they still come up, if that makes sense. So I will get that at some point, hopefully. So it's off the wish list, but it's still on the I need to purchase. I don't need to purchase any of them. We don't need to purchase any of these. I'm sure some of you might correct me. We want to purchase this. It's probably more accurate, but a very cool plant. Oh, and this is now a Begonia. So Begonia, green velvet, species Papua. Hot. And I know begonias are not for everybody. I know the begonias are not for everybody. This also looks like it would be such a problematic begonia to grow. But look at it. It's like Chewy had a baby. It's a fuzzy begonia, and it looks truly fuzzy. Like, petable plants. I love a petable plant. This is very small, so I don't know. I was going to say, looking at the image, I want to say it's a cane begonia. The leaf shape looks like it could be a cane begonia. Because this is so small, I don't know if it's a rhizomatous begonia, so it stays quite low and doesn't... It's giving vibes of my Begonia seismoriae, Chewbacca, what I call Chewy or Chewbacca, had a baby with my Begonia melanobulata or even a Begonia ferox, very similar, but it's that kind of, just... I mean, another begonia, I'm sorry. But, this speaks to the little goth child that's still within me. Begonia, blood of black, species Borneo. For all my old goths, the emos, people that like dark foliage, people that like blood red foliage, tick, 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 tick. Just. This also looks, this one does actually look like it might be a cane begonia, like truly looking at those leaves. And I want to say it's going to be easy. I also want to say that based on the coloration of the leaf and you can see some of the back of that leaf as well, I would imagine this is a lower light type of plant, medium to low light rather than bright light. This would get washed out quite quickly. But for all the people that like the Philodendron Dark Lord behind me and people that like those really kind of like deep reds, this will tick so many boxes. Just, one day. I don't think this is particularly expensive. I don't think I've ever seen this. Again, I've only ever seen it on the one seller's site, but I just had to be like, oh wow, this, And this is another different type of plant that I have maybe started seeing crop up in plant stores. And I specifically think, because I saw this on the kind of international sellers sites, but I've never seen it in the UK. And I think I saw one of this come on to their site really briefly. I don't know if it's sold out yet. I think it did. I don't think they probably had that many. And I think it's called the Lea type of plant. So this is a Lea zipeliana. But I mean, so I don't know how to pronounce this plant. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. I don't know anything about these plants other than the fact that they are very striking. They usually have some silveriness, I think, on their leaves. But I mean, look at this. Look at that silveriness down the midrib and on the kind of edges of those leaves. This is a very, very cool looking plant. I also can't tell, it looks like it might be velvety. But yeah, this to me does scream like this will not be an easy plant to care for. To me, looking at that. But doesn't it just look really pretty? Doesn't it just look really pretty? And if anybody's grown these types of plants before, like the Leas, I don't know how you pronounce it, what are they like? A, have you? And B, if you have, wow. Like, how did you uncover this type of plant? And it's only just starting to come a bit more on the market at the moment. It's maybe to look for as well, look out for. Because I think there was a point where a lot of schismatoglossus came onto the market and they were very cool. And I think people bought them thinking that they're slightly less dramatic than, and I think some people were pushing them that way, that look, it's as pretty as a calathea, but maybe not as fussy as a calathea. based on my experience of one and myself, one Schismatoglossus and myself having cared for it, wow. In terms of fussiness and in terms of how much I needed to hover around that plant, and I don't think I'm disproven by this by looking at some of the other YouTubers' experience of this. Maybe I just didn't stick it out for long enough, but I'm just like, I would take a Calathea over a Schismatoglossus any time of the day because that just seemed like a lot of work for not as impressive looking foliage as you might get on a Calathea. So I'm just a bit like, eh. But yes, this is cool. What was it? Zippeliana. I'm assuming the Zippeliana is maybe because it looks like a zipper in the middle. I don't know, but it's very cool. This came up on my Instagram and it came up on the Equigenera profile. They were kind of sharing a video of this, and the video is intense. If you want to go and have a look at that, do, but I had to put a picture here. Unfortunately, the picture that they had on their website is really basic and it doesn't look anywhere near as impressive as this looks. But this is the Ceratostemma pendens. When I say have a look at that video, just have a look at that video, because this, you would look at it and just go, oh, it's quite small. Those cuppy, I want to say leaves over what is a bloom, so the whole thing just looks like a bloom. And the inside of those cuppy things is a reddy color as well, and the outside is like a greeny color, and maybe you can see some of the older leaves, they lose some of that internal reddiness. I don't know, but this is a very, very cool plant. It looks like bells. It's huge. It can get really, really big. These are not small bell type things. Very cool, very unusual plant. I want to say, I don't know, it's very much a hanging basket type of plant. Just by looking at it, I would say it's probably not that tricky to care for. I have never grown a Ceratostemma before. And for the people that like my kind of like connections to the Greek words, kerato means horn, stemma is usually like a stem of something. So a horn stem, I guess, like maybe if you squint hard enough, maybe that's like the appearance of the plant, but just very cool, very, very cool, very, very cool, very unusual. And I think that's the end of the unusuals, and we're coming into the last category, which is Hoyas. And the first Hoya is an unusual Hoya, and I've seen this before, and I've been meaning to add it to my collection for a very long time. I just don't see it crop up as often, and it is the Hoya spartioides, because the picture that I'm looking at, it looks like dead sticks. And you know, I spoke about this recently about like the plants that I'd love to get back again, which is, one of them was the dead stick euphorbia, so a succulent that looks like dead sticks, and it looks like flattened dead sticks. This actually just looks like dead sticks. Very, very, very cool. I don't know what the blooms look like on any of these Hoyas. I've stopped looking at blooms for Hoyas a lot of the times. And again, this is just my experience. For some of these Hoyas that we are looking for that are maybe more specific than just the usual Hoya suspects that you can see in big box stores and big kind of garden centers, those might bloom, they don't bloom that quickly, but they might bloom in a year or two. But a lot of the other types of Hoyas, if you're thinking of, why am I blocking? There's one that's on here. So, where is it? So think of like something like the Hoya callistophila, which is highly ornate kind of foliage. Maybe some people have seen those ones bloom, but do you see what I mean? Those kind of slightly more interesting foliage Hoyas, at least in my experience, I've never got them to bloom. I've never got them large enough to be able to bloom or happy enough in my care. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that's part of the reason why I've stopped looking at blooms for some of these weirder looking Hoyas, because I'm just sitting there going, I need to like the rest of the plant more than the bloom, because it might take me years to get it to the point where I can actually even see the bloom. It might not happen that often. So, Spartioides ticks a lot of boxes because it's weird, and yeah, I'd much rather look at this. I know it sounds bizarre, but like, yeah. Usually a talking point, I guess, because somebody comes in and you're just like, look, you've got all these lush plants. Why is that one dead? And they're like, oh, it's not dead. It's supposed to look like that. It's very cool. And talking of the callistophila, I did find a really interesting callistophila. So Hoya callistophila black spot. And this is a variegated as far as I can tell. Hoya. So, and based on the kind of variegation that I'm seeing, I have never grown a variegated type looking Hoya. It's not called a variegated Hoya, it's just called a Callistophila black dot. So I don't know if this is just something that happens naturally and it's not truly variegated, I don't know. Obviously, I'm assuming this is maybe a sport or a kind of cultivar of the Callistophila. I don't think it's a hybrid, but it looks really, really cool because I've not seen a lot of Hoyas that have got this type of patination that looks more reminiscent of a traditional variegated plant. And this is the reason why I did not add this in my variegated plant section, because I don't know if this is true variegation, if that makes sense. Very, very cool. However, would I attempt this? I don't know, because this scares me. This scares me, especially because anything I'm finding doesn't have that much foliage on it. So, and I know from my experience, just from my experience with the Callistophila, it's not the fastest growing Hoya that I've got, not even by a long shot. So something that has even less chlorophyll, you'd be there for years, I think. But if you've got this plant and you can kind of talk to it and say that, you know, my experience hasn't been that and it's been easy or whatever, please do let us all know down below. I, for one, would love to know. The next one is something that I've seen around for a while, and I know a lot of people have eventually got their hands on this. And I think the story behind this Hoya, so this is the Hoya Gunung Gading, or Gading, Gunung Gading. And I think the story behind this is that, and it's a species Gunung Gading, I don't think it's been named yet officially, but I think the reason for that name is because it grows in a specific garden or botanical garden somewhere in the Far East, or possibly even like India. I'm not entirely sure. And I think that's the name of that location. So they've given it that name, that specific park, botanical garden, or garden basically. But it's very, very cool. I always like the look of this because it looks like it will sun stress. The one that I'm showing you does look like it's got some sun stress on. It's got that intense venation. And it does look like this plant is kind of like halfway to dead, but this is its normal look. It's got that kind of slightly crispy look to it as well. I know it's not going to be for everybody, but I do like this. And I think the more I've seen people pick this up and seen it in different video formats or pictures and all these things, rather than the original time and there wasn't that many visual kind of representations of this plant, I am liking this more and more. So this is definitely on my wish list to see if I can grab one of these at some point. I don't think they're that expensive anymore. Oh, and this is a very cool Hoya that I came across that looks less like a Hoya and looks more like it could be like a traditional kind of like plant, in the sense that it could look like a bit of a bush or a bit of a tree. You'll see what I mean. So this is a Hoya amicabilis. Do you see what I mean now? The way that the leaves are growing on that stem looks like not a Hoya, if that makes sense. So just for that reason alone, and because it makes it slightly different, this is one that I'm interested in finding. I don't think it's particularly expensive, but it's not one that you'll see come up very, very often at all. Very, very cool. Do you have this plant? Oh, this is like me stabbing in the dark here. If you do, what's it like? Is it actually like this, or is it just I've been catfished by the images that I'm seeing of it? Oh, and the next one is one that I used to own. I don't know whether or not this is the last one as well, yeah. So this is one that I used to own a while back, and it's only recently gone into the compost bin purely because it was just on its way out. It's been slowly declining for nearly a year, and you know when you get to the point where you're just like, you've got like 2 piddly leaves and a very long stem, and your roots keep dying back every time. I need to let you go and maybe just replace you with a fuller plant at some point soon. I'd already kind of revived this plant by cutting and rooting it a few times, and I think at this point it was past that point. So Hoya multiflora javanica. And this is one, and I've got you an image here with the blooms on there as well. This is one that bloomed consistently for me, like all of the time. I've never had any success with Hoya Bella, but I know everybody says with the Hoya Bella that they bloom all the time for them and all of these things, and they're really super easy Hoyas. That has not been my experience when I tried it. Granted, it was many, many years ago. I don't know if I would want to try it again, but this to me had that similar kind of vibe. So a lot of blooms, very interesting, that kind of the blooms look like they're shooting stars. I think this might no longer be classified as a Hoya, but I always have seen it and purchased it as a Hoya, so I'm keeping it within the Hoya section here. And I think the reason why it's possibly been reclassified, and I think this might have been a video that I've seen a while back by Summer Rain Oaks that mentioned that this might have been reclassified, and you can kind of see it when you grow it, because it does grow a bit like a Hoya. The blooms are very Hoya-esque, but it does grow differently in terms of its watering needs, and that's the thing that I kind of like struggle to get to grips with this plant. So it would do really well for me in the summer and almost entirely die back in the winter. So it's one of those things that it's like in the summer it needs a lot of water to keep it happy, and in the winter it almost goes down to like, do not give me even a drop of water, otherwise I will rot everything within the span of about a month. So I'm still trying to fine tune it. I don't think it's particularly difficult to come by in some places like maybe the States, but in the UK they don't come up as often. They're not very expensive, but they don't come up as often, and they do come up as a bit more of a fuller plant rather than just like the couple of leaves that we were looking on some of the other Hoyas. So I do appreciate that, because it gives, I feel like you kind of get a bit of a head start on things. So Hoya multiflora javanica, 100% I want to re-add to my collection, 100%. So that is everything. What did you think? Did you have any favorites? Did any of these surprise you? Do let me know down below in the comments, you know this. And also if you've got some interesting and kooky looking plants that you might want to suggest and going, Memo, you've got this on your wish list. Have you seen this? Let me know down below. Let me know down below. I know we are all plant geeks, really, and we find really weird and unusual things, especially on my channel. I've definitely found my audience with all of you. It seems that a lot of you appreciate the weird and kooky kind of plants that are out there. So yes, do let me know down below. I would love to hear your opinions on some of these plants, or if you've got different ideas as well, down below. Let's have that chat. But yes, I will leave you at that, because this has already been a very long video of me just pointing at images and yammering. Essentially just kind of going, oh my God, look at that, look at that. So yes, I will let you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I truly, truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.